I am running late, and the relentless ticking of my elegant watch underscores every passing second, echoing with each flick of my wrist as I steer my brand new Audi through the tree-lined streets of the neighborhood where I once rode bicycles and chased fireflies. My grip tightens on the wheel, my knuckles whitening, when my parents' sprawling six-bedroom colonial home comes into view, looming with a grandeur that feels far larger than its actual dimensions. At the age of 28, I hold the title of the youngest senior marketing director in the history of my company. Yet in this moment my stomach still knots like it did when I was 16 and had stumbled home past curfew. I catch a glimpse of myself in the rearview mirror, noting the designer blazer draped perfectly on my shoulders, the carefully applied makeup, and the sleek hair smoothed into flawless submission. Each detail serves as armor, protection against the battlefield that is family. The driveway is already crowded with Brandon's imposing Range Rover, Olivia's family-sized SUV, and my father's gleaming Mercedes. I pull up along the street as if I were a guest, which, in truth, is exactly what I have become, showing up no more than 4 times each year, each visit leaving me more drained than the last. My heels strike sharply against the stamped concrete leading to the door, the sound deliberate and commanding. I never knock, not once. The illusion of belonging has always required this silent entrance. There she is. My mother's voice calls out from the kitchen as I slip inside. We were about to start without you. There is no embrace, no direct gaze. Just the familiar scent of roasted turkey and cranberry sauce, laced with the subtle but suffocating undertone of disapproval that always lingers when I arrive. Sorry, client emergency, I murmur, letting the lie fall easily from my lips. More acceptable than admitting I had sat in my car for 15 long minutes rehearsing steady breaths. Always working, my father's voice emerges as he appears in the hallway, a glass of bourbon in hand, his eyes sweeping over my appearance with that well-worn mixture of judgment and appraisal. One day you will realize there is something out there more important than that job. My smile stretches stiffly, yet I manage to keep it intact. Nice to see you too, Dad. Voy. Drawn by the murmur of voices, I make my way into the dining room where Olivia is placing a final spray of flowers at the heart of a table glittering with Mother's finest china and crystal. Brandon lounges back in a chair, phone in hand, barely flicking his eyes upward at my entrance. Savannah, my mother's voice floats behind me, deceptively warm. Why don't you take a seat at the kids' table? We've saved a spot for you there. The words strike me like a blow to the chest. I turn slowly, hoping I misunderstood, but the evidence is undeniable. A folding plastic table tucked into the corner, ringed with child-sized chairs in a riot of colors, each place set with bright paper plates decorated in cartoon themes. My nieces and nephews are not even seated yet. Their laughter still filters up from the basement. The kids' table? I ask. My voice steady though I feel my cheeks burning. My mother's expression remains serene, unaffected. We need space at the main table for Gregory's parents. They are joining us this year. She gestures toward Olivia's in-laws, faces I have encountered only twice before. For a moment I am paralyzed, the weight of the morning's rituals flooding back to me. The careful choosing of my outfit, the extra minutes smoothing my hair, the pep talk whispered in my bathroom mirror reminding myself it is only 4 hours. My apartment had felt like a sanctuary earlier today. The framed award gleaming on my desk, the congratulatory promotion notice glowing on my laptop screen. My best friend Maya's voice over the phone asking, "Why do you even go back, Savannah? What if you just stopped?" Standing there, caught in the threshold between pride and humiliation, I toy with the thought of resisting. My lips part, ready to protest, but Brandon glances up from his phone, his eyes narrowing with that familiar warning look that silently orders me not to make a scene. It is the same look he gave when I announced my first gallery show, when I proudly shared news of my promotion, when I revealed I had purchased my apartment entirely on my own. Fine. The word leaves my mouth, bitter as ash. I move toward the children's table, acutely aware of how conversations continue seamlessly around me, as if my relegation to plastic and paper is neither unusual nor cruel, but simply routine. I lower myself into one of the small chairs, my knees awkwardly tucked high, the edge of the table pressing uncomfortably into my ribs. Before me sits a unicorn plate belonging to my niece, its painted eyes mocking me with a too-wide grin. Soon the children burst in, their chatter filling the room, their wide eyes curious to see an adult already waiting at their table. My 7-year-old nephew Ben tilts his head in innocent confusion. "Aunt Savannah, why are you sitting with us?" I force a thin smile. "Just changing things up," I reply, swallowing the knot in my throat. At the main table, the conversation flows with practiced ease. My mother leans in toward Olivia, asking, "How is the baby sleeping these days?" My father's booming voice carries across the room, proud and commanding. "Brandon, why don't you tell Gregory about that promotion?" Glasses clink as he raises his drink in a toast to family achievement, his gaze lingering on every face except mine. A chorus of approving murmurs rises around the table, a harmonious celebration that excludes me entirely. Sitting apart at the children's corner, I feel the weight of realization sink like stone into my chest. This table, this absurd plastic throne surrounded by paper plates, embodies my place within this family perfectly, always nearby yet never at the center, tolerated but never celebrated, present but perpetually invisible. My 7-year-old niece Lucy accidentally knocks over her plastic cup, sending a splash of purple liquid cascading across the table and straight onto my cream-colored silk blouse. The chill of it seeps into the fabric instantly, grape juice spreading quickly into the expensive material. "I'm so sorry, Aunt Savannah," she whispers, her small face folding with genuine regret. "It's okay, sweetheart." I reassure her gently. I press a flimsy paper napkin against the spreading stain, watching helplessly as the fibers dissolve against the soaked silk. Something deep within me shifts at that moment. Not with a loud crack, but with the quiet, inevitable fracture of ice beneath a frozen lake. I rise slowly, the legs of the tiny chair scraping against polished hardwood. I carefully fold the damp napkin and place it neatly beside the cartoon-covered plate, as though this simple act deserves ceremony. "Savannah, is there something wrong with your seat?" My mother's voice drifts toward me, her brow creased with confusion. I offer no answer. Instead, my movements are steady and deliberate as I cross into the hallway, open the closet, and slip into my coat. At last, I feel their eyes following me, though not with understanding, only with surprise that I am daring to step away. Some traditions simply are not worth the cost of endurance. The door closes softly behind me with a click that feels both restrained and final. My hands, trembling with emotion, long to slam it shut. But restraint has always been the shadow walking beside me. "Savannah, where do you think you're going?" My mother's voice rings through the front window, hitting that precise note of indignation wrapped in control, the same tone she has perfected for decades to preserve her image before her country club circle. I turn back and meet her eyes through the glass pane. "I'm leaving. Enjoy your dinner." The words are plain, stripped of drama, delivered without apology, nothing but truth carried on my breath. My hands still shake as I slide the key into the ignition. The Audi hums to life, its smooth vibration grounding me as I ease away from the curb. The silence inside the car feels heavy, at once terrifying and liberating. In 28 years of attending Thanksgiving dinners with this family, I have never before walked out early. My phone buzzes before I reach the first stoplight, then again and again, until the vibration against my thigh becomes constant. By the time I have traveled 3 blocks, the notifications come in a relentless stream, my family's collective outrage transmitted through cellular waves. At a red light, I risk a glance. Brandon's text glows on the screen. "Stop acting like a child. Come back." The irony would almost be amusing if it did not sting so deeply. I had been seated at the children's table only 10 minutes earlier, yet I am the one accused of immaturity. The voicemail indicator blinks insistently. I press play on speaker as I drive. Savannah? My father's roughened voice fills the car, sharpened by bourbon. This foolishness has gone on long enough. Get home now. It is not a plea but an order, issued as though I were an employee rather than a grown woman who has built a career from nothing. 2 more messages appear almost instantly. Olivia pleads. Mom is losing it. Just come back and talk. You're ruining the dinner. Meanwhile, the family group chat erupts with messages flying in rapid succession. What is wrong with her? She has always been too sensitive. Should we be concerned? This is humiliating with Gregory's parents here. My departure was not intended to create drama, but their responses expose how profoundly they misinterpret me. I never craved theatrics. All I have ever wanted was a genuine seat at the table, a place where I was seen. I drive aimlessly until glowing neon letters cut through the dusk, announcing a 24-hour diner bathed in fluorescent light against the November darkness. The parking lot is dotted with other cars, fellow escapees from holiday rituals seeking refuge. A rush of warmth envelops me as I step inside, warmth not only of heat but of something more vital, an unspoken acceptance. The waitress looks up from where she is wiping the counter, her eyes quickly assessing the designer clothes, the smudge of mascara I can feel beneath my right eye. Sweetheart, you look like someone who could use a coffee. She doesn't pry into what happened or why I sit alone on Thanksgiving. Instead, she sets a steaming mug in front of me as I settle into a booth. And maybe a slice of pie too, she adds with a smile that feels more sincere than any I have ever received from my mother. That would be perfect, I manage, though my voice cracks as the words leave me. While I wait, I scroll through the gallery on my phone. With each swipe another family photo surfaces, each one whispering the same truth I had refused to see until now. Christmas 3 years ago, everyone clustered tightly around the tree, while I stood slightly off to the side, half-cropped from the picture. My college graduation, siblings and parents beaming in the foreground while I, honors diploma in hand, lingered blurred at the edge of the frame. Then the text from my mother last year, which I had saved and now stare at with fresh eyes. How's that little job going? Still enjoying playing businesswoman? Senior marketing director. The youngest in company history. Yet, in her eyes, my success was nothing more than make-believe. The pie arrives warm from the oven, its golden crust gleaming and the glossy cherries beneath catching the soft light of the diner. I pause for a breath, fork poised, while my other hand hovers over my phone as I begin drafting a message to the family group chat. My fingers are steady in a way that startles me, as if clarity has finally pushed through years of hesitation. I attach a Christmas photo, the one where I am half-cropped from the frame as though my presence mattered less than the placement of ornaments. Beneath it I type the caption, "The perfect family," always reminding the youngest exactly where she belongs. The words continue flowing, almost as if they had been waiting silently for years to break free. This isn't only about a seat at a table. It's about an entire lifetime of being treated like an afterthought. When you can look at me as an equal, truly see me, then let me know. My thumb hovers for a heartbeat over the send button. It feels monumental, a single action strong enough to fracture nearly 28 years of quiet submission. Once sent, the performance ends. No more playing the dutiful daughter who swallows slights with a smile. I press send, shut the phone down completely, and take my first bite of pie. It tastes richer, more satisfying than any Thanksgiving meal I can recall. I finish slowly, savoring each bite, and leave a generous tip before stepping back into the cool night. My posture feels taller as I walk to the car, the weight that has pressed on my shoulders for years easing for the first time. "Savannah?" a voice calls from behind. I turned startled to see Mark Connolly, my old lab partner from advanced chemistry, someone I've glimpsed only rarely on social media, now a pediatrician. Mark, hello, I manage, surprised to encounter him here. His eyes study me with a professional kind of care, and he tilts his head. You look different. Lighter somehow. For the first time in ages, my smile comes easily. I finally put something down. Something I've carried for far too long. He nods, as though he can't know the exact details but understands the shape of the burden. Perhaps he recognizes the universal look of someone who has finally chosen themselves after years of self-denial. When I return to my apartment, the space feels like a sanctuary. I drop my keys into the ceramic bowl by the door. A handcrafted piece I bought from a local artist to celebrate my very first promotion. The sound echoes off the exposed brick walls I had fallen in love with 3 years earlier, when I signed the lease without needing a cosigner, without needing my parents' approval. My blazer slips from my shoulders, heavy with the residue of the day, and I hang it carefully in the closet, instinctively preserving its expensive fabric even as my thoughts churn. I have never walked away before, not once in nearly 28 years. My home glows with proof of the success they never acknowledged. The framed marketing award on the wall, the signed prints from campaigns that doubled client revenue, the sleek furniture I selected and bought with my own money. No inherited hand-me-downs, no hidden subsidies. Barefoot, I cross the hardwood floor to the wall, where family photos hang in curated order. My mother had insisted on their display during her one visit, reminding me, "So you don't forget where you come from, Savannah." I touched the gilded frame of last year's Christmas portrait, my siblings and parents in tight formation with their spouses and children, while I lingered half a step back, my smile fixed but strained. I lift it carefully from the hook. One by one, I take each photograph down, stacking them neatly on the coffee table. They aren't destroyed, just removed from constant view. The wall looks empty now, yet I feel something within me expand. My phone sits unlit on the counter, its small red light blinking insistently. I ignore it and uncork a bottle of wine instead. Tonight, for the first time in memory, I fall asleep unburdened by the anxiety that has long plagued me after family gatherings. There are no restless hours at 3 in the morning, no imaginary conversations rehearsed to counter criticisms that never stop. There is only darkness, quiet, and the hum of city traffic below my window. Morning comes with golden light streaming through the eastern windows, scattering patterns across the bedspread. I stretch, feeling my muscles release with a freedom so unfamiliar, it nearly startles me. For a brief moment, I forget the chaos of yesterday and exist only in this warmth. Then the memory returns, accompanied not by dread, but by something far gentler, something that feels alarmingly close to freedom. I shower, pull on soft loungewear and brew coffee before finally turning toward my silent phone. The blinking red light has grown insistent, proof of dozens of unanswered messages. I take a steadying breath and press the power button. The screen floods with notifications, a digital storm of texts, calls, and voicemails stacked through the night. My father at 6:42 in the evening. "Where did you go? Call your mother now." My father again at 7:15. "Your mother is devastated. Fix this immediately." My mother at 6:38. "Savannah, please come back. We're so worried." My mother again at 8:24. "I don't understand why you're making this into such a scene. It was only a seating arrangement." Brandon at 7:03. "You've ruined dinner. Mom is upset and Dad is furious." "Well done, Olivia at 10:17. "If you thought this stunt would make us respect you, you're wrong. You're acting like a child." Dozens of similar messages appear, shifting from feigned concern to sharp anger, then sliding into threats. My father's final text even suggests withdrawing financial support I have not needed or asked for since college. I scroll through the flood of messages with growing clarity, each word revealing the patterns I had once struggled to name. The guilt, the manipulations, the sly gaslighting, all the tactics they use to reshape reality so that I am cast as the villain for daring to reject the unacceptable. My thumb stills mid-motion when a new message appears from an unexpected sender. Emma, 13 years old, Olivia's daughter, writes, "I get it, Aunt Sav. They make me feel invisible too." My breath catches in my chest as I read it once, then twice, and then a third time. Her words are simple, but they slice through the noise of accusations and denials. She sees it as well, the subtle dismissals, the quiet erasure, the way value is measured unevenly. The phone vibrates again, this time with a call, and the name flashing across the screen stops me. Aunt Vivian. My father's sister, absent from family gatherings for years, the relative dismissed as selfish for choosing a career instead of children, the so-called black sheep who walked away. I answer hesitantly. "Savannah, it's Vivian," she says, her voice carrying both distance and recognition. "It's been 6 years." "I know," I whisper, my throat tight. "Marcus showed me your message about the kids' table," she continues, her breath audible in the pause. "I just want you to understand you're not crazy." The words strike me like a physical force, shattering years of self-doubt. I sink into the couch, barely able to steady my breathing. "I went through the same thing when I chose my work over motherhood. Your parents couldn't reconcile my choices with their vision of family. They reduced me, belittled me, made me sit at the metaphorical kids' table until I finally stopped coming altogether. Memories stir, fragments of my childhood when I asked why Aunt Vivian never came to holidays. The answer was always the same. She doesn't care about family." A neat explanation that excused them from responsibility. "I always wondered why you stayed away." I admit, my voice soft. Vivian sighs. "The same reason you walked out yesterday. Dignity has a breaking point, Savannah." After the call ends, I go to my desk and retrieve my journal. I open to a clean page, and, in bold letters, I write the word, boundaries. The list begins to form with surprising precision. I will only attend gatherings where I am treated as an adult equal. I will no longer tolerate dismissive remarks about my career. I will not step back into the family house but instead meet on neutral ground. Line after line, the boundaries emerge, each one solidifying into the foundation of a new self-respect. When the page is full, I pick up the phone and call my therapist for an urgent appointment. Then I call Maya, whose voice bursts through with instant concern. "I did it." I tell her, my voice trembling with both relief and exhaustion. "I finally walked away." "Holy shit, Sav," she exhales. "I'm so proud of you." Ona. 2 hours later, I am scrolling through an online forum for adults navigating estrangement from family. The stories mirror mine with haunting precision, the constant exclusion, the quiet undermining, the moment of truth that forces change. For the first time, I realize I am not alone. I am not fragile or overly sensitive, just human, with limits that deserve to be honored. By evening, I have gathered evidence, photos, screenshots of texts, a timeline of incidents that spans years. I practice responses to the objections I know will come. I am not angry. I am setting boundaries. This is not about a single dinner. It is about decades of exclusion. I am not asking for favors, only equal treatment. I arrange a meeting in a downtown coffee shop, deliberately public, neutral, with a clear time limit. I text Maya to check in during the meeting, a lifeline in case I falter. The next morning, at just after 9, my phone rings with my mother's name glowing on the screen. I let it buzz 3 times before I answer, grounding myself. "Hello, Mom." Her voice comes sharp and composed, the tone of a woman convinced she still holds power. "Your father and I have decided we are willing to forgive you for yesterday's outburst." The old version of me would have seized that crumb, desperate to regain approval. But that girl is gone. left behind at the folding table with its paper plates and unicorns. I inhale deeply, standing tall. That's interesting, I reply, calm and clear. Because I am still deciding whether I am willing to forgive you. The silence on the line stretches so long I glance at the screen to confirm the call is still active. Island. She is still there, breathing, recalibrating a reality where her youngest daughter no longer plays the part assigned to her. Finally, she speaks, dismissive as ever. It was just a table, Savannah. My grip tightens around the phone as I pace the hardwood floor of the apartment I pay for, the life I created without their help or approval. It was never just a table, Mom, I answer, my voice steady. It was everything the table stood for. You're overreacting, she snaps. No, I correct her quietly. I'm being honest. I stop pacing, planting my feet firmly beside the framed award on my wall. That table was only the final insult in a pattern that has existed all my life. You excluded me from Brandon's investment group because you said, and I quote, "It's for people with real careers." You introduced Olivia as your successful daughter at last year's Christmas party while I stood right beside you. And you've seated me apart from the adults at every gathering since I turned 18. Silence again, long enough that the weight of it feels like its own confession. When she finally speaks, her voice is thinner, stripped of confidence. That's not how it happened. My proof is here, Mom. I have the texts, the photos, the emails. My fingertips graze the compass tattoo on my wrist, the one I etched into my skin during college as a reminder to always follow my own path, not the one dictated by others. This isn't about a single dinner gone wrong. This is about nearly 28 years of being treated as though I mattered less. Her response shifts, a classic change of tactics. After everything we've done for you, what exactly have you done for me lately? The question comes out sharper than I intend, but I don't pull it back. My apartment? I bought it myself. My education? Secured through scholarships. My car, my savings, my career? Every piece of it built by my own hands, with no financial safety net from them. There is a pause, a hesitation on her end, before her voice comes again, softer and almost wary. What is it that you want from us, Savannah? The words strike me harder than I expect, not because I hadn't anticipated them, but because it is the first time in my life she has ever directly asked what I want. My throat tightens, but I speak clearly. I want to be treated with the same respect you give to Brandon and Olivia. I want my accomplishments recognized. I want a place at the table both literally and figuratively. On the other side of the line, I hear her inhale sharply, the first sign that her well-worn strategies are beginning to falter. Before I can reflect on the moment, a group text from Brandon lights up my screen. Emergency family meeting tomorrow night, 7 p.m. at Mom and Dad's. Savannah not invited. The absurdity nearly makes me laugh. They are scrambling, desperate to reclaim control of a narrative that has already slipped away. An hour later, Emma sends me a secret screenshot. In the family living room, my siblings sit in a huddle, faces etched with tension. Her message reads, "They're panicking. Dad keeps saying you're tearing the family apart." Grandma cried. It's honestly better than Netflix. For the first time in years, a genuine chuckle escapes me, the humor of their melodrama undercutting the heaviness of it all. The next morning, one of Dad's golf partners corners me awkwardly during a client meeting. "Robert mentioned things are a bit tense in your family," he says cautiously. "Hope everything turns out all right." My stomach twists at the thought of my life becoming fairway gossip. Later, scrolling Facebook, I see Mom's post. Prayers needed during this difficult time for our family. Hundreds of sympathetic comments flood in from friends who know nothing of the truth. It is clear they are terrified of losing control of the story. That evening, I sit at my desk drafting an email addressed to the extended family. Each sentence is chosen with care. Each example supported by evidence. I attach photos spanning the years me off to the side at Christmas. Cropped awkwardly from graduation shots. Placed consistently at the edges of tables rather than within the circle. When the message is complete, I close with, I love you all. But I love myself enough to demand respect. Before fear can creep in, I hit send. Responses arrive steadily throughout the following day. My cousin Michael writes, I've seen this happening for years and never spoke up. I'm sorry, Savannah. My father's sister, who long ago stopped attending family events, sends. You were brave enough to say what I never could. I'm proud of you, niece. Even my mother's closest friend of 3 decades messages me privately. You're right. I've witnessed the way they treat you. I hadn't expected allies. But I am no longer standing alone. Then Olivia calls. Her voice is hesitant. Smaller than usual. Can we talk? I'm listening. I say as I curl into my reading chair, keeping my guard up. She exhales slowly. I've been thinking about how we've treated you. Her words falter, then continue. Greg said last night that he's always been puzzled by the difference in how you're treated. He assumed maybe there was some hidden history. I realized I've never had a reason to give him. I couldn't explain it. And what did you say? I asked quietly. I admitted that I had never thought about how it looked from your perspective. I just accepted that it was the way things were. Her voice cracks at the end. I'm sorry. It is not a full apology, but it is something the first fissure in the united wall. A week later, a polished invitation lands in my inbox. The Reeves family requests the pleasure of my company for a family discussion dinner. Seating arranged by Savannah Reeves. I nearly laugh aloud. The meeting is scheduled at a neutral restaurant downtown, not the family home. The time selected matches my calendar, not theirs. Every detail acknowledges my new position in this dynamic. I type my response with a smile. I accept. For the very first time, they are stepping into a world defined by my terms. I arrive at Marcelo's 20 minutes ahead of schedule. My heels click against polished marble, as the hostess leads me to the round table I reserved specifically. A round table equal on all sides, no hierarchy imposed by its shape. Perfect, I murmur as I slip off my blazer. The color radiates confidence, chosen deliberately as armor, not camouflage this time, but battle attire. With calm precision, I place the name cards in their designated positions. My parents beside me, Brandon and Olivia opposite. The seating map reflects the confrontation that is coming, carefully drawn with cardstock and ink, a geography of long overdue reckoning. 7 minutes remain. I smooth the napkin across my lap, pressing out imaginary creases, and adjust the butter knife even though it is already perfectly aligned with the edge of the plate. 6 minutes. My hand twitches toward my phone, but I resist the temptation. When they arrive, of course together, I do not rise to greet them. Instead, I remain seated, poised, and waiting. Savannah, my mother says, her voice trembling between greeting and uncertainty. My father's eyes narrow as he scans the circular table and the place cards arranged with precision. Brandon's jaw tightens almost imperceptibly, while Olivia grips her purse strap with just a touch more force. Thank you for coming, I say, my tone level and professional, the same voice I use in executive meetings rather than family dinners. Please sit. The command unsettles them. For a heartbeat they hesitate, uncertain how to navigate this unfamiliar balance of power. But one by one, they take their seats. Victory claimed. Almost immediately, my father clears his throat, words tumbling out in a cadence that feels rehearsed. I think we can all agree that family unity must come first. We need to put this incident behind us and focus on healing together. My mother chimes in quickly, her eyes glistening with well-practiced tears. Your father is right. This whole situation has been devastating for all of us, Savannah. We've always been such a close family. Brandon leans forward, elbows braced against the table, his tone dipped in condescension. Some people are simply more sensitive than others. Not everything has to become a federal case. Olivia smiles tightly, her voice sweetened with false diplomacy. What Brandon means is that we all love you, and surely we can reach a compromise without all this unnecessary drama. 1. I lift my glass of water and take a slow sip, allowing the silence to stretch long enough that discomfort forces them to fidget in their chairs. I have rehearsed this moment in front of my bathroom mirror, polishing each phrase until it carried both precision and weight. I would like to establish some ground rules for this conversation. I begin, placing my glass back on the table with deliberate care. Everyone speaks only for themselves, no interruptions, and we address specific behaviors rather than vague judgments about character. My father opens his mouth to protest, but I raise a hand, halting him mid-syllable. He closes his mouth. Second victory secured. For nearly 28 years I have been systematically excluded from full participation in this family. I continue. The so-called children's table at Thanksgiving was simply the most literal example of a pattern that has shadowed me my entire adult life. I let my gaze move around the table, locking eyes with each of them in turn. Can anyone explain why a 28-year-old accomplished woman was seated among children? The silence that follows is sharp, absolute. My mother's fingers twist her napkin. My father stares into his glass of water as though answers might rise from the surface. Brandon shifts uncomfortably. Olivia lowers her gaze to her lap. At last, my mother's voice breaks the stillness. I suppose I never fully saw you as an adult without a husband. That's how I was raised to believe a woman becomes complete only when she has a family of her own. My father grunts, his tone rough. In my generation, true success meant family, not just a career. I built something lasting. A job, no matter how shiny, is not the same. To my surprise, Brandon is the next to speak, his bravado diminished. Maybe I felt intimidated. You didn't need Dad's network or his money like I did. It was easier for me to minimize your accomplishments than admit my own reliance. Olivia's eyes glisten with real tears, not the staged kind. I knew it was wrong the way we treated you, but acknowledging it would have meant admitting my part in it. I'm sorry, Savannah. Truly. I listen carefully, absorbing each confession. It isn't forgiveness, not yet, but it is the first recognition of truth we have shared in decades. Moving forward, I say firmly, though my tone softens with intent, I require clear boundaries. At every family gathering, I will be present as an equal adult. My career and choices deserve respect, whether or not they are understood. I expect my successes to be acknowledged with the same pride shown to Brandon and Olivia. I want connection with you all, but it must be built on mutual respect. If old patterns resurface, I will walk away again without hesitation. Then, they exchange glances, the wordless communication I have long been excluded from. Finally, my father nods. You've certainly grown up, Savannah, he says, his closest attempt at approval. I meet his eyes directly. I have been grown for a long time. You are only now beginning to see it. The check arrives, placed squarely between my father and me. Without hesitation, I reach for it first, sliding my credit card into the folder and handing it to the waiter without a glance at the total. The symbolism is clear to everyone present. I am not the child, not the dependent, not the afterthought. As the waiter departs, my mother reaches out tentatively, her fingertips brushing my wrist. Do you think we can really change after so many years? Her question lingers, stripped of artifice, raw in a way I never expected from her. I do not offer an easy answer, nor do I try to shield her with false comfort. We will see, I reply quietly. Change requires work. End of. Months later, my apartment hums with a kind of warmth and energy I once thought impossible. The scent of roasting turkey blends seamlessly with the tang of cranberry and the earthy fragrance of fresh herbs. It is familiar, yet layered with something new, something that feels entirely my own. I glance briefly at my designer watch, not with the restless anticipation of counting minutes until escape, but to make sure every dish and every detail is unfolding precisely on schedule. Aunt Savannah, is this enough sage for the stuffing? Lucy asks from her perch on a step stool, carefully pinching herbs between her small fingers. I smile, squeeze her shoulder gently, and answer, perfect. You've got such a natural instinct for flavor, sweetheart. The dining table stretches long through my living space, a single elegant surface capable of seating everyone. There are no folding plastic tables tucked into corners, no reminders of exile or separation. My mother appears at my elbow, a steaming casserole dish balanced in her hands. Where should I place this, Savannah? The words still take me by surprise even after so many months, but I answer without hesitation. On the sideboard, please, we'll serve it all together later. She nods silently and follows my instructions, an exchange that feels small but monumental. My father lingers near the wine rack, his bourbon glass untouched for once. That campaign you led for the Children's Hospital was remarkable, he says, clearing his throat. My golf partner's son at New York University brought it up, said it was everywhere. He avoids my eyes, fingers tapping lightly against the glass, but the sincerity is undeniable. Thank you, Dad, I reply, my voice softening. That project increased donations by 37%. I'm proud of it. Handkrisen. From the living room, Brandon emerges, and for the first time in memory, he is without his phone. Savannah, can we talk? He begins, his voice lacking its usual edge. I'm weighing a lateral move to Thompson and Brooks. The salary would dip at first, but the creative opportunities, well, I'm not sure. His uncertainty hangs in the air, and for a moment, I nearly fumble the serving spoon in my hand. Brandon asking me for advice. It depends on your 5-year plan, I tell him with measured confidence. Thompson's digital division is growing quickly, and it could open doors if you position yourself well. Olivia crosses the room with her youngest nestled against her shoulder. Would you mind holding her for a moment while I help finish setting up? She asks, handing me the baby with ease. She's been restless all morning, but she always seems calm with you. She places the infant in my arms not as an afterthought or burden but with genuine trust. The child settles instantly, and I whisper, we understand each other, don't we? The baby blinks slowly, as if in quiet agreement. This apartment is beautiful, Dad remarks, gesturing to the space with a kind of grudging admiration. You are smart to invest in this neighborhood. My mother reappears from the dining area, a handful of measuring spoons in her grasp. Savannah, could you seat the children? She stops mid-sentence, the color draining slightly from her face. The room grows hushed for a beat. She takes a breath and begins again. Actually, I'd appreciate your help arranging everyone together. You always know how to make it work best. Our eyes meet across the room, and for a fleeting moment, there is something like understanding. Happy to, I answer, steady and sure. Near the window, Aunt Vivian chats easily with Olivia's in-laws, no longer an outsider but a welcomed presence. From the hallway, Maya steps into the room, her familiar smile lighting the space. Her presence is woven into these gatherings now, not strange but essential. I overhear my niece explaining proudly to Maya's daughter, my aunt taught us about boundaries. Her small voice carrying the weight of wisdom far beyond her years. I slip into the kitchen alone for a brief moment of reflection. The image of last year's humiliation surfaces: the plastic chair, the cartoon unicorn plate, the ache of being cast aside. I reach into the drawer, pull out my gratitude journal, and write just one line. Today I sat at the table I earned. When we finally gather for the meal, hands linked around the table that spans my living room, my father suggests we each share something we're thankful for. One by one, voices speak of family, health, and love. When my turn comes, I say simply, growth in every one of us. The glances exchanged carry volumes of unspoken acknowledgement. Some traditions deserve to be broken so that better ones can be built. At the head of the table rests my place card, written in my own hand. A quiet but powerful symbol of the place I have claimed at last.